What's up everybody, and welcome to the channel. In today's video we are going to be talking about our Audi RS3 and the handling, particularly how I have made this thing handle a lot better. Now, in no way am I saying that this is not a good handling car. The 8Y RS3 did the Nürburgring in 7 minutes and 40 seconds. Equally, the G87 BMW M2 was only 2 seconds quicker at about 7 minutes and 38 seconds. With that, the new upcoming 2025 RS3 did it in 7 minutes and 33 seconds. So needless to say, this is one good handling performance sedan. However, my thought on it is it's a little bit odd feeling. Now for me, as far as all-wheel drive cars go, the only all-wheel drive car I've really owned was the R35 Nissan GT-R. Owned that for 5.5 years. That is a very rear-wheel drive biased car. You can't even tell that there's any front-wheel drive aside from the fact that you have grip for days. This car, the Quattro system's a little odd. It's a front-wheel drive biased system to where you will feel a little bit of input in the steering wheel, which I'm not used to. Even looking back at our 2016 Audi S3 that we sold to then buy this car, that car with its hydraulic power steering, much more conservative setup, felt more mechanical. This one with the electronic power steering, more power and all that, it just feels a little different. But I've done some upgrades to the car that have drastically improved. Now, some weird things with this car, not only is it a front-wheel drive bias system, you have wider front tires and a wider front track. It's like 2 inches wider up front as far as the actual stance goes. On top of that, the front tires are 265 wide, and then over in back they are 245 wide. So again, a little odd. Not only do you have a wider track, you have much wider front tires. So to then go over the upgrades I've done, the car is sitting on the H&R Lowering Springs. It lowers the car about 1 inch all around, giving it a perfect stance. I also have a set of H&R wheel spacers that you can kind of tell in back and in front to get the wheels to stick out nice and flush. And now the car's stance especially is absolutely spot on. And I think those 2 upgrades alone have really drastically improved the handling. On top of that, I did front and rear sway bar end links. The stock ones are kind of thin metal and plastic, so I've done adjustable aluminum ones, and that helped a little bit. And then I recently had an alignment done, and I adjusted the steering wheel with the tie rod end links to get everything nice and perfect. So now the alignment is perfectly in check, and my steering wheel is perfectly straight. So now the car feels perfect. You know, when your steering wheel is crooked or if your alignment's a little off, that alone kind of messes up the feeling of the car. And even from what I've heard from a lot of owners of these cars, the factory alignment from Audi isn't all too perfect. Honestly, when this car was bone stock, the steering wheel was a little off, and then after doing the springs and everything, the toe was a little off on the car, and I still had to adjust the steering wheel. So it did need a little bit of work out of the gate just to get it perfect, of course. So with that said, we're in comfort mode, normal drive mode. The good thing about this car with the suspension and everything, you know, you still retain all those factory settings. So we're in the comfort mode. It is soft, it is comfortable, it is a really nice car to drive. It's luxurious, it's everything you would want in a $65,000 Audi. So I like that aspect to this car a lot. It has the refinements and it has the ride quality to back it up. We did recently take this on a fun back road, something new that we haven't found before. And I found some pretty cool twisties to take this car on, and it felt so much more confident than I remember this. I've made a lot of videos on the RS3, and one of my complaints is the steering feel just felt a little off. It felt like there was a delay from what the front wheels do to what the back wheels do. And again, I'm used to the GT-R, I'm used to our S3, and quite a few BMW cars as well, like the M3 and M4 competition, which are all-wheel drive. So this is the weirder of the all-wheel drive cars I've driven. It's just a little different. So we'll go into RS Performance and feel it out a little bit. The steering definitely has tightened up a little bit. And honestly, right there, that just felt really good. The weight of the steering in performance mode, it feels more solid. It feels like it's more linear from front to back, to where when I make the sharp turn, the car goes around the turn rather than steering and then the back end kind of follows later on. So all those upgrades have done a lot. The springs and spacers, I think, really help because that's going to lower the center of gravity tremendously. Not only physically lowering the car 1 inch, but then widening the front and rear track further and making them more even, since I did wider wheel spacers in back. That makes it to where the stance of the car is a little bit more square. Now, a lot of people have mentioned doing a square set for tires and wheels is actually a huge plus. So when these tires wear out, when I do new tires, I am planning to do new wheels, and I'll go for a square setup to where they're all the exact same width, offset and everything. and I'll probably just run a small wheel spacer up in front since the body is a little wider, and that way I can rotate the tires and enjoy the stability of a square setup. So those mods have definitely increased it. I think the new alignment helped a lot as well, just to further straighten all the wheels in relation to each other to where the car just handles a little bit better. So let's get back onto that road, and I'm gonna play with the RS Torque Rear. So if I tap that, hit activate, basically this setting is supposedly gonna make it a little bit more rear wheel drive bias. I've played with this setting a few times. So we'll see if going around the turns, did I notice anything? Because I think one thing that I've noticed is, especially if you're on the throttle coming out of a turn, because you have a lot of power going to the front, you're gonna feel a little lighter sensation throughout the steering wheel that you wouldn't normally expect in an all-wheel drive car. So I think that alone might be also one of the bigger things, not only the mechanics of how this car is designed, but the front wheels having the power go to them. You know, it can make the steering feel a little vague under boost, and that's probably the biggest thing that I noticed that's just definitely taking some getting used to. So in this mode, hard to really tell just yet. This might be more of a setting just if you want to do some donuts or something. I don't know if it honestly makes any feeling difference. Honestly, hard to tell. So I really don't know if that mode does anything aside from if you wanted to do a donut or something like that. So that mode, not really noticeable for me. So back into RS Performance, just normal. The good thing about this all-wheel drive, at least, there's no torque steer when you floor it. I mean, you just have perfectly tracking straight. So that is a good sign that they've done a decent job giving you some power into the rear. But let's go back into the rear, kind of see what it does now that we're going up the hill. Up the hill, you can kind of feel it a little bit more as you're powering up. Let's feel out that steering now. Yeah, I don't think you would really notice a difference in that mode doing the sweepers and things like that. That's definitely a mode more designed for slow speed, kind of just playful driving, or if you literally wanted to drift in this car. So with that said, it's not really the drivetrain that is causing the interesting handling. It would definitely be, I think, the mechanics of it with the wider track, the wider tires, and then the stock ride height and things like that. So you're still going to get a little bit of that torque steer feeling when you're under boost in the hard turns, but lowering the center of gravity, stiffening up the suspension just a tad, and widening everything, honestly, it really helps a lot. So if you have an Audi RS3 and you do notice that the steering, the handling just feels a little different, and again, it's not that it doesn't handle well. Obviously, this has the track time to back it up to where it is a fast car around any track. It's fast in a straight line, and it is a lot of fun going around the turns. It's just a very different all-wheel drive car if you're used to pretty much anything else, especially if you're used to anything rear-wheel drive. My Toyota Supra, completely different car, handles on rails, and it's just a completely different vehicle than what you're going to find in the new RS3. So with that said, the upgrades on this car, it starts to come alive and give you that fun factor to where you're able to tighten up the handling, and those brakes are starting to squeak a little bit sometimes. Like even there was a little bit of pull from the front I could feel, accelerating like that in first gear while turning, but in the stock form it was definitely more than that. So I think the sway bar end links, those probably helped a little bit, just keep the wheels from moving up and down on their own, kept that a little bit tighter. But the wider track when you're going around these sharper turns and the sweepers has helped make the car just feel more stable. And I really am looking forward to when I do the new tires and wheels to get a more square setup and probably wider tires all around to where the rears are a little bit bigger. Because you will notice that a little bit still, that the rear kind of follows a little bit later. But it's nice to see those few mods have just made the car feel more planted. really good feeling. Alright, so that is kind of going to wrap up today's video. Just wanted to make kind of an update on the handling. I still get some comments of people asking if I've fixed it. There's nothing to fix. There's nothing wrong with the car. It's just, if you're used to other cars, this car might feel a little odd due to the front-wheel drive bias system and the much wider front end than the rear. So it's a little bit different to get used to. It doesn't have that hydraulic mechanical steering feel and that more square planted feeling when you're going through the turns. But a couple upgrades, a solid alignment, adjusting your steering wheel, making sure it's perfect, really go a long way and make this car even more fun. We just did a mountain trip last weekend in the Lambo, but now we are really itching to take this out there after taking this on that fun little back road we found, just to further see how this car handles and throw it through the mountains, because it's really starting to come alive. And with the power and the sounds that this car makes, it is a heck of a lot of fun. So hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and stay tuned for plenty more content, and I'll see you all in the next video.